could we turn from customer loyalty to scale, and particularly how do you scale an enormous airline like Delta down as quickly as you had to do it? I know hospitals have had to go through this, of course, and they didn't feel they were particularly well educated to do that. They've had to learn that on the fly. But how do you think about scaling down, and how did that work?
Well, I think there's a difference between hospitals and airports, airplanes, airlines. And that is that during this period of the pandemic, the demand on the hospitals has been great. In my world, in aviation, there were very few people flying. I continued to fly throughout the pandemic, but on some of my flights, there might have been 5, 7, 10 customers between Minneapolis, where I live, and Atlanta, where I work. And I was commuting every week. And so the demand was not there for our service. There certainly was an incredible demand for the medical service. So for us, the scaling down was not hard. There wasn't much demand anyway, so we could put as much social distancing as we wanted. We could put a lot of constraints into the journey through the airport onto the airplane, and it really wouldn't have affected our customers. So scaling down wasn't a problem. What we did have to do is we had to adjust the size of our workforce. We didn't do that through furloughs. We were the only carrier to not furlough. We did that through voluntary unpaid leaves by employees, and we also offered an early retirement package to bring down the employee numbers. We also retired a good number of aircraft that we're going to be retiring in a couple of years. We just accelerated the retirement of those aircraft and simplified and consolidated the fleet. There's some benefits to that. There's more consistency in the product. These are more fuel efficient aircraft. We just accelerated that. That was the easy part. The hard part is as demand starts to come back, and it's coming back at a pretty good clip, how do you start lifting some of those constraints that you've put in the airport, which were sized for 6 foot of social distancing, whether it's in the lobby queues or in the TSA checkpoints or around the gate area or the way we board airplanes? How do you start lifting those layers of safety that you've put in, knowing that it's still safe, but knowing that we still need to keep some of these in place? For example, the mask wearing. How do you keep all of these, or how do you start lifting these layers as demand comes back? That's the real challenging part. Knowing where consumers want to fly, and knowing what frequency, what gauge, what markets to operate, and then making sure the airports are opened up enough so that we can get those customers through without having them dwell too much in lines, because we know that that's one of the things we want to avoid is we want to keep people moving rather than congregating in big groups. So that's the real challenge for us, and there's just a lot of analysis, a lot of study that we do on a constant basis to adjust our capacity along the way.